Hello everyone, this is not Mr. Doan, okay, and today is 2.5, Solving Radical Equations, Algebraically Part 2, and today's essential question is, how do I solve equations involving radicals? Okay, so example 1 is the radical of x minus 10 minus 4 equals 0. And the key today is you just have to remember you have to isolate the radical before anything. Okay, so that's the most important key. You need to isolate the radical. So the first thing I want to do is isolate the radical. So is the radical all by itself on one side of the equation? No, it's not. The negative 4 is with it, so I've got to add 4 to both sides. Then I will have radical x minus 10 equals 4. So then now I can see that the radical is isolated. So to get rid of the radical, I'm going to square both sides. So I have x minus 10 equals 16. And then I add 10 to both sides. And x equals 26. Okay, so let's do a more difficult problem. This time we'll do one with two radicals. Okay, so radical 2x plus 6 minus radical x plus 4 equals 1. Okay, so with this problem, I'm going to again isolate the radical, but I'm going to isolate just one radical. I can't obviously isolate both. So I'm going to add radical x plus 4 to both sides. So I will have radical 2x plus 6 equals 1 plus radical x plus 4. And then at this point, I'm going to square both sides because one of my radicals is isolated. So if I square both sides, I will have 2x plus 6 equals, and then this one is a binomial. It's a perfect square binomial, so I have to actually fill this out. So if I fill this out, I'll end up with 1 plus 2 radical x plus 4 plus x plus 4. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to combine like terms, try to isolate this radical now, and then I'm going to square it. Okay, so I have 2x plus 6 on one side, 1 plus 4 is 5, I still have the x, and then plus 2 radical x plus 4. I'll subtract the 5, and then I'll subtract the x as well on both sides, so I'll end up with x plus 1 equals 2 radical x plus 4. Okay, and then at this point, I could divide by 2 and square it, but I would get a fraction, and that'd be a little complicated. I mean, you still get the same answer, but I'm going to square it at this point because the radical pretty much is isolated. And then I have to fill this out again, so I'll have x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals. Remember, I have to square the 2 because it's outside the radical, so there'll be 4 times, and then square root of x plus 4 squared is just x plus 4. And then I'm going to distribute this, move it all to one side, and then solve for x. So x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 4x plus 16. Subtract 4x from both sides. Subtract 16 from both sides. I'll end up with x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Okay, then I do my favorite F word. I'm going to factor. Okay, it'll be x minus 5, x plus 3, and then I set it equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, so x will equal 5 and negative 3. Okay, and then I have one more example. Okay, so example 3, we'll write it in a different way. It's technically still a radical problem, but it's written as a fractional exponent. Okay, so really, if I really wanted to write this as a radical, you could write it as, it's up to you, but you could write it as radical the cube root of x plus 1 squared equals 4. You could do it that way. and solve that way. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm actually going to do it this way. Okay, so to get this to be 1, I have to take it to the reciprocal of 2/3. So I'm going to take each side to the 3/2 power. Okay, the only important thing is you have to remember the 3/2 power is the square root. So, it's the square root, and then I'm going to take it to the 3rd power. So whenever I take the square root, I got to write plus or minus. So this is going to be 1. So this will just be x plus 1. This one is the square root of 4, so it's going to be plus or minus 8, because the square root of 4 is 2, and then 2 cubed is 8. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So x equals -1 plus or minus 8. So -1 plus 8 would be 7, and -1 minus 8 is -9. So those are your two answers. All right, if you have any questions, write it down in your notes, and I will see you tomorrow. And I'm not Mr. Doan.